Hello everyone, Rick Gideon here. I want to address the messages to the seven churches, specifically what is the Synagogue of Satan? And I believe I have it. What is the Synagogue of Satan? And the doctrines of Satan, which identify his character, his mind, his work. So we're going to look at some things in the Bible here to identify what this synagogue is and what the major doctrine Jesus, Yeshua Christ, has against this synagogue, which as a witness sits on many waters. So take your pick here. You believe in eternal torment. Take your pick. There's an angel throwing, it's one of my favorites, to witness against your doctrine. So take your pick here. You're an eternal torment guy, probably an immortal soul guy or lady. Well, there's an angel chucking a guy in forever. His flesh roasted forever with worms crawling all over his body, right? And as I will show you in the art, especially of medieval Europe in medieval times, well, we'll be able to see the depth of Satan, the depths of Satan, as Jesus said. So, hey, you're an annihilationist person, a conditionalist, a destructionist, an exterminationist. Don't you love those terms? Well, we got to call it something, right? So this guy gets chucked in to be burned up forever, in which, well, an exterminationist believes most of humanity will be burned up forever, even though Christ came on the scene 4,000 years into this present evil age. So, well, we kind of have a hint here, if you're looking at this video, who I believe and know who this synagogue is. You have to look at all the messages to the churches, in particular two. And you have to search it out in another part of the Bible to get the answer. Now, these doctrines are false. God is going to save his creation as a witness. He's going to gather up every fragment. Just to give you an idea, go ahead and Google eternal torment was the first doctrine of the church. Go ahead and Google annihilationism was the first doctrine of the church. Then Google universalism, Christian universalism. It's the first doctrine of the church. You know what you're going to find mostly? Universalism. Because that was the predominant doctrine, belief in truth from the first century on. This is Wikipedia. Even Wikipedia knows. They document it. It says history of universalism. And I could get, you do it yourself. I can get into this deeper if I wanted to. According to the new Schaff-Herzog encyclopedia here under history right here of religious knowledge, 1912, over the first 500 years of Christian history, there are records of at least 6 theological schools. 4 of these schools were Universalist. 1 each in Alexandria, Antioch, Caesarea, Edessa, Nisibis, I hope I pronounced that right. 1 taught conditional immortality, that's destructionism, annihilationism, in Ephesus, and the last was eternal hell in Carthage or Rome. You can research this to find that especially eternal torment came in later on the scene. Where does it, eternal torment, where does it, it springs out of the immortality of the soul. I get it. If you believe that, you got to make a decision, right? Your life hangs in the balance where you're going to spend eternity. Well, that's the first lie of the immortal soul. Well, now that there are people that know that more now that the soul is mortal, they have opted for plan B, destructionism. The soul is mortal. Well, that's false also. These are the two most dominant doctrines that on the earth. They sit on many waters. Christ is going to overthrow these doctrines. These are extremely evil doctrines. I will witness to you. Once again, these are extremely evil doctrines. God is not happy. He's going to bring this nation down. This nation is the biggest exporter of this religion all over the earth today. Okay. What do I want to go to next? Let's start reading the messages to the churches. Let's go to the church of Smyrna first. So this is, you have to search the matter out. And to the angel of the church of Smyrna write, or messenger, these things says the first and the last, who was dead and came to life. I know your works, tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. Okay? That in itself doesn't tell you a whole lot. We got to continue reading the messages to the churches, for he says at the end of each church message, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Now, I don't know how long this video is going to take, and I don't care. Well, I do. I hope I can get it done in an hour. I just got on here. I've been thinking about this, mulling this over for a few days, and I just decided to put the camera up and run with it. So who knows where the Spirit will lead. Let's go on to the next message. I believe, and until I'm proved wrong, the spirits must be tested. They existed at the same time back in the day, in the early Christian church, the first few centuries. But they are also church ages up through the last 2,000 years, all the way to the end with the Church of Philadelphia and Laodicea, the last two before Christ returns. Of course, that will be tested. I also leave room that the seven may emerge again. That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done, and there's nothing new under the sun. With Philadelphia, the one feeding them. I believe they are the 144,000 who are coming out of the tribes of Israel. So we have the next message. And to the angel of the church of Pergamos, right? These things says he who has the sharp two-edged sword. I know your works and where you dwell, where Satan's throne is. Okay, so there's another mention of Satan. And you hold fast to my name and did not deny my faith, even in the days which Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was killed among you where Satan dwells. But I have a few things against you, because you have those who hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed to idols and commit sexual immorality. Now you get an Orthodox person, they're going to take this literal a lot of times. Well, they were committing sexual immorality with one another, adultery, no, this is talking, this is big, this is spiritual, this is symbolic. Oh, he put the revelation was signified. It was put in symbols. That's why you have red beasts with 7 heads and 10 horns. That's why you have the Messiah with a sword hanging out of his mouth. Well, it's not literal, is it? He doesn't have a sword hanging out of his mouth today. So here we go. We have something we can search for in the Bible. Hey, and we're going to go to a place where almost nobody likes to go. Well, it's getting more popular, especially the Torah keepers who keep it in the letter in the spirit. I keep the Torah in the spirit. In other words, although I do not keep any of the Torah in the letter anymore, the physical Sabbath, clean and unclean meats, I proclaim the Messiah from the Torah, in which he came to fulfill, and he's not done yet. He's not done filling it up. He's not done completing it until he hands the kingdom over to the Father, and he has restored all things, everyone back to the Father. So hey, we got those that are holding the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the children of Israel. So we're getting people here that are coming in, and they're enticing the church of God, ecclesia of God, to stumble and take up the doctrine of Balaam. Okay, so we need to do a search. First of all, let's stop. Well, what does Isaiah 28 say? Here a little, there a little, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. In other words, you've got to search the matter out in the Bible, and that includes first and foremost the Old Testament and Moses, concerning a truth, concerning finding a doctrine. God put it that way to weed most of humanity out. The Bible has been considered the hardest book to understand, and that's the way it was made by God. That's the way the Spirit moved the holy men of God to write it. So we're going to go to the doctrine. Where do we find the doctrine? What did Balaam do? What did Balaam and Balak do? Or Balak, what did they do? Let's go to Numbers 25. Notice he mentioned Satan's throne was there. That's the temple of Zeus. Sure, he's tied in with Zeus. He's tied in with, I just got done talking about it a month ago, Christmas, Father Time, Father Christmas, Thor, Baal, different gods, same gods, different names. So we start in Israel's harlotry in Moab. Now remember, the ecclesia or church of God is Galatians 6:16, the Israel of God. You have physical Israel, you have spiritual Israel. What happened to physical Israel happened to spiritual Israel when they came in the well, they didn't even get in the promised land yet, but the same things happen. They fall back into apostasy. Now Israel remained in Acacia Grove, and the people began to commit harlotry with the women of Moab. They invited the people, to the sacrifices of their gods. And the people ate and bowed down to their gods. So Israel was joined to who? Baal of Peor, Baal worship, human sacrifice, sacrificing children in the fire. That's what Baal worship primarily is. Okay, well, what did I just show you in the beginning? What did I show you an angel was doing? Well, let's look at it again. Again, wherever the Spirit moves me. Baal Peor, Baal of Peor, Lord of the opening. What do I mean by opening? Any opening of the human body to have sexual relations with. The mouth, the anus, the usual areas. Baal was a very sexual god, fertility god. And he required human sacrifice, human child sacrifice. So what does the doctrine of eternal torment and annihilationism witness? That God is going to sacrifice most of his children to be appeased. This is also because of the orthodox model of the gospel. This is an evil gospel. This is a gospel contrived by Satan, the devil, that God is trying to save the whole world now. But if you explore in Moses, in the Torah, in the instruction, in the teaching that Christ laid up in his heart, there is nothing in the shadow of the good things to come that witnesses eternal torment or eternal destruction or annihilation. I will give you $1,000 if you can find that. Jesus, his mission statement, Matthew 5:17-19, is to fulfill his Father's Torah to the last jot and tittle, not to add to it nor take away from it. He already has the judgments laid up in his heart that he is going to implement in the kingdom, casting outside the kingdom for refinement in fire in the 1,000-year reign, and those that are still found with sin, Sirat, leprosy, in the resurrection of the dead, the second resurrection, those will go on to life. They will be changed on the 8th day, and those still found with sin will be cast outside the city or kingdom for continued refinement. They will be the accursed of God, as I have mentioned several times in several videos. You have been deceived. So we have Baal of Peor. Let's just take a look at Baal here real quick. Where is he at? Where's Baal at? I must have clicked him out. Well, anyways, I must have clicked them out. Like I said, let me just pull them up. Okay, just do a picture of Baal here. Picture. Child sacrifice to Baal. Okay, let's see here. Here's a little bit bigger picture. I'm getting harder and harder to find these pictures. There, you're handing your child to Baal or Moloch, Canaanite gods, to be burned literally in fire. Eternal torment is the worst. That's the most perverse of all. But it pictures a malevolent being. And again, this is out of the Orthodox model of the gospel or the Roman Catholic gospel. This doctrine also springs up from the lie of the immortality of the soul, that you have to get saved now. So this is the mentality. Both Trinitarian and monotheists alike love, or they are snared in this gospel. We are commanded, Revelation 18:4, to come out of her, my people. Most just come out a certain amount. They just don't. This gospel, which is first witnessed in Moses, in the 7 annual Sabbaths from Passover to the 8th day after Tabernacles, the consummation age, pictures the 7-step plan of the salvation of humanity, which was also witnessed and confirmed in the New Testament. Almost nobody goes to Torah, to the instruction, to the teaching, to search these out. Okay? This is the depths of Satan. This is the synagogue. These are the doctrines of the synagogue of Satan. These doctrines go all the way back to ancient Babylon after the flood. Nimrod, his mother wife Semiramis, his son Tammuz, all these concocted doctrines up that went from Babylon to Egypt to Greece to Rome. Roman Catholic Church, they took up the doctrines and they pervade today. That's it. This is the synagogue of Satan. This is the depths of Satan. This is the evil depths of Satan, the devil, picturing God as a murderous monster with foreknowledge, creating mankind with foreknowledge, knowing Christ had to show up 4,000 years after the creation, the lamb slain before the foundation of the world, to save just a few. By the way, the few is the first fruits. That gets witnessed first in Moses. Exodus 23, verse 16, I do believe. The first fruits of your labors. I've got lots of videos on it. These doctrines are not going to stand. You are going to be judged. This nation is going to be destroyed. And what little is left is going to go into captivity for their religion first. I'll bring it up in a parting scripture. So, Baal Peor. That's the doctrine of Balaam. See, he couldn't curse Israel. God prevented him. He was a professional cursor. Even he carries the name Baal. So he got Balak. Said, you know what? He goes, I can't do it. He goes, but I'll give you counsel. He goes, just invite these people in and bring a curse on themselves. Invite them in. Entice them with your women to worship your gods. That's what was allowed. That's what was happening in, let me go back, to Pergamon. So let's go back to Revelation, chapter 2. Let's read the next message. Of course, at the end of the message, he who has ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. So we have what's called the corrupt church. No, there were faithful people in this ecclesia. They were just allowing the Roman Catholic Church to come in, completely wipe this church out. I did an article on what the message is to this church. What is the death, the sickness and the death that was rained down on this church? It's the Black Death. It's the judgment on the Roman Catholic Church. Black Death almost wiped out the Roman Catholic Church. Christ cast it into a sickbed. It almost died, but it recovered, and it was never as strong as it was before that, dominating the governments of Europe. And to the angel of the ecclesia of Thyatira, right? Things says the Son of God, who has eyes like a flame of fire, and his feet like fine brass. I know your works, love, service, faith, and your patience, and as for your works, the last are more than the first. Nevertheless, I have a few things against you, because you allow that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants, people coming in, seducing them to commit sexual immorality and to eat things sacrificed to idols, eat unclean doctrines. That's what that message is. Committing harlotry with false religion, with women. That's what the virgins, 144,000, never do. These were the ones who were not defiled with women, with false churches, ecclesias, and their doctrines that go all the way back to ancient Babylon. Babylon and its mystery religion is the synagogue of Satan. And the Roman Catholic Church and her daughters took up the mantle of the Babylonian mystery religion. This is the religion that now sits on many waters, the woman that sits on many waters or many nations. And know if you're a monotheist or a Unitarian, which I am, and you're preaching the doctrine of annihilationism, you are involved in the same, you are partaking of the synagogue of Satan and the depths of Satan, because mostly you're going out of one testament and rotten translations such as Aeon and Aeonian, translated forever, eternal, everlasting, not in the Greek, not in the Hebrew, for olam olams, Aeon, Aeonian, age and age abiding. Sorry. God's not happy with your doctrine. There's nothing in the Torah which Christ came to fulfill that speaks of eternal destruction. And I had a guy message me this morning. He's a monotheist. He says, if you have any questions on the plan of God for the eons or salvation, let me know. I wrote him back. I said, that's my field of expertise on Messenger. What's the plan? Well, he's a big-time destructionist. He did give me some Old Testament scriptures, but nothing from Torah, which is the instruction or teaching Christ laid up in his heart and his inner being to implement in the kingdom age and in going into the eighth day. That's when everything is when everything is restored, everyone and everything, then he'll return the kingdom to the Father. No, not one scripture out of the Torah, which don't let me just keep on going on here. To teach and seduce my servants to commit sexual immorality and eat things sacrificed to idols. And I gave her time to repent of her sexual immorality, and she did not repent. Indeed, I will cast her into a sickbed, and those who commit adultery with her into great tribulation. That's the Black Death. 25 to 50 million people died. I will kill her children with death. That is a Jewish expression there. Killing with death, stricken with death, a disease so bad that you feel like you're going to die. Paul even said that. We have the sentence of death in ourselves, beginning of 1st or 2nd Corinthians. Kill her children with death, a disease so bad and wiped out. That's the Black Death. I can link my article on here. And all the churches shall know that I am one who searches the minds and the hearts, and I will give to each one according to your works. Now to you I say, and to the rest of Thyatira, as many as do not have this doctrine, who have not known the depths of Satan. You ever take a look at some of the medieval art? I tried to pull up a movie of it, but I couldn't on YouTube. It just wasn't there. It wasn't. Take a look at this picture. The depths of Satan. Take a look at this picture. This is a picture of hell. This is medieval art. I'll pull up a few here. Here's a demon or a Satan. On one hand, Satan is devouring a person in hell. And on the other hand, he is defecating a person out of him. Look at these various demons or tormenting people and stuff. This is the depth of Satan right here. This is the absolute depth of Satan as he influenced man's heart to paint concerning him. Let's just go back up here. How about this one here? How about that? Now, these are Christians. These are Roman Catholics. This is the mother harlot. Take a look at that picture. What do you think of that, huh? Do you understand why these beings are? Do you understand why he rained down death and almost wiped out the Catholic Church and cast her into a sickbed? This is the living God we're talking about here. And please, let me just go right back here. Take it up. This is your God, you monotheist and Unitarian, or if you're a Trinitarian and you believe that God is going to burn most or some or whatever throw them into a fire, a literal fire. The lake of fire is witnessed first in Torah. I will link that. I have it. It was given to me. The shadow or the written code of the Torah, Leviticus 13 and 14, Numbers 5, 1 through 5. The Israel camp in the wilderness is just a shadow of the kingdom of God, the New Jerusalem, the kingdom. And outside will go the lepers, those with sin who have sin, Sarat, outside to have their garments, their sinful garments burned in the fire. So this is you Unitarian, you monotheist, who going out of one witness, going out of the New Testament alone, time and time again. I'm just about done. I've concluded that the two witnesses that will be in the 144,000 are the Old Testament and the New Testament. You know, the Torah, the instruction, the teaching, don't put law in there. That was done by Trinitarian pagans. They hated the word Torah, which translates instruction or teaching, not law, because it makes it look like it's completely done away. It is not. It's done away in the letter for the first fruits, but not in the spirit, or its spiritual applications, the things that Christ fulfilled and will yet fulfill. This is, if you're a monotheist, claim it, claim your God. Right here. Even the names of your doctrine are a witness against you, that the names are more attached to Satan, destroyer, destructionism, exterminationism, annihilationism. Who is the destroyer? Who came to destroy, to dissolve the works of Satan the devil? And not who might. They always use that word might, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Throw it out. It was added. That he should dissolve, or he will dissolve, destroy the works of the devil. This is your God. This is the synagogue of Satan. Even in Haggai, which is a shadow of the rebuilding of the house of God in the latter days, the church of God has been destroyed, as Paul witnessed. Acts 20, 28, 32, I do believe, been destroyed, been ruined. My house lies in ruins. He says in Haggai 2, they still have unclean doctrines attached to them. I was going to force them off of them. He's going to do it. This is your God. This is the depths of Satan. Destruction and literal fire. Once you get into the judgments of the Torah, the future, the judgments you see, which must be remembered in the last days, Malachi 4, 4, 6. Now to you I say, and to the rest of Thyatira, who as many as do not have this doctrine, who have not known the depths of Satan. There he is. He's mentioned again. The depths of Satan. the synagogue of Satan. Jezebel. Oh, hey, let's go. Let's go. What did Jezebel bring into? I'm sorry. Let's go here. Boy, I almost whiffed here. Let's go to 1 Kings. Okay. 16, I do believe. Okay. 16. What did Jezebel? Let the Bible interpret itself. Here a little, there a little. That's why Jesus put it there, for you to go back and search the matter out. Okay. After Omri reigns, well, guess who reigns? Ahab. And who did Ahab marry? And what did Jezebel, once again, coming into Israel, physical Israel, shadow of spiritual Israel, the people of God, get it? What did she bring in? In the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, Ahab, the son of Omri, became king over Israel. And Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Israel in Samaria 22 years. Now Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of Yahweh more than all who were before him. And it came to pass, as though it had been a trivial thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, setting up the 2 golden calves, the son of Nebat, that he took as wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal. The daughter of Ethbaal. You know what? Look what name Ethbaal carries. Baal. Ethbaal. That was her father. He was a priest of Baal. So we know what she counseled Ahab. No one stirred Ahab more up to do wickedness than Jezebel. So in this church, Thyatira, we're not just talking about the spirit of Jezebel, rebellion. We're talking about bringing in Baal worship. That's all this mystery religion is. And he took his wife Jezebel, the daughter of the king of the Sidonians, and he went and served Baal and worshipped him. Then he set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal, which he had built in Samaria. And Ahab made a wooden image. Now, what is this wooden image translated? It translates to an Asherah pole. Ahab did more to provoke the Yahweh God of Israel to anger than all the kings of Israel who were before him. Now, could you imagine them in heaven in this Roman Catholic system with, like I showed you, these paintings here? You talk about provoking them? That's why 25 to 50 million people died. You know what? He doesn't fool around. He doesn't change. Judgment is coming on the United States. Ephraim, it's coming. That people don't really, it's always the mentality, it's not going to happen here. Well, my friends, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. See another picture if I can. I mean, what do I got to do to show you here? These demonic, how about this one here? What about that? Hey, look at that, huh? I don't know, is a giant demon or Satan there eating someone. There's a snake chomping on someone. There's a frog, a frog chomping on someone, right? Demons like frogs, right? Revelation 16. This is hell. This is a painting. This is your God for you that believe in eternal torment. You have this hanging on you. These are your fathers. Okay? Judgment's coming on you. And an offshoot in the purest form of Baal worship is annihilationism. This doctrine goes underneath. It hides underneath eternal torment. Kind of shadows underneath it. It's evil, evil. And they spring out of the orthodox model of the gospel. Sorry. It is what it is. That's all I can say. Who knows what that is? Some demons doing something to probably a newly dead body. So look. So anyways, yeah. What's in a Shira pole? Okay. What's in a Shira pole? How about that? A denuded woman, usually in a tree. The shaft of Baal. This is actually Semiramis, probably the star, usually an 8-pointed star she's associated with. This has always had to be erected next to Baal. Where there was an altar of Baal, you always had to erect an Asherah pole. This is the shaft or the penis of Baal. It's a very sexual god. For the god, a god of fertility. Let me just type in here. Picture of a church with a steeple. Okay, many churches. I didn't show you the Asherah poles or the obelisks, like the Washington Monument. Hey, what is that? Come on, what is this? Where do the Christian churches get steeples at? What does that look like? Huh? The mystery of iniquity. Well, it's pointing to heaven. It's an Asherah pole. There's a good chance there might be an altar in there too. The thing that has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. There's nothing new under the sun. Don't you get it? Like in Micah 5 at the end of the chapter, he says he's gonna bring all these down in this nation. You think he takes his stuff lightly? He remembers all the human sacrifice that goes on. Like I said, this video can take us anywhere. It's probably a Roman Catholic. How about that? Huh? How about that? Where do we get this stuff at? It's like we thought of something new. You know, it points up to heaven. Huh? What does that look like? Huh? The penis. Come on. Let's get real, guys. Baal is all around us. There's Unitarian monotheistic churches with that. I'm friends with a minister on Facebook. His church has a staple on top. Keeps all the pagan holidays, and he believes in destructionism. That's why he does. I mean, he's got the holidays, the pagan holidays, which are tied in with human sacrifice. It's all the system is all a disguised system of devil worship. I'm sorry. And when the falling away begins, when the economy collapses in the world and things get desperate, that's when it's going to be naked devil worship, basically, when they worship the beast. These people will be throwing their faith away left and right. Number one, because they don't have the Torah. They don't have the table of nations. They don't know who Israel is, the house of Israel, the house of Judah, who the United States is, what's going to go. They won't. But as Isaiah 8 says, and I'll show you probably before I wrap it up, those that have the Torah in them bind the testimony, seal up the Torah, and I'll just read it because I got so much in my head right now that I'm just not that person that can rattle off things verbatim. So anyways, there, look at that, huh? Look at all these Asherah poles. What does God say? Let's just deviate off the path. So Ahab brought Baal worship into Israel through Jezebel. Ahab did more to provoke Yahweh, God of Israel, to anger than all the kings of Israel who were before him. In his days, hail of Bethel. Okay, so he goes on to talk about what he built. Oh, he brought in human sacrifice, child human sacrifice. Who witnesses that God is going to sacrifice his creation, his children, in literal fire? Or whatever you want to. Well, it's symbolic. They're going to be destroyed. Jesus said, the Son of Man is come not to destroy men's lives, but to save them. He came to seek and save that which was lost. course, you got to start at Moses. I'll link a couple of videos on the lake of fire and the resurrections from the dead, beginning with Christ, the three resurrections. All will appear before Yahweh on their appointed 8th day. Circumcision of their flesh. Okay, where am I? Where am I going here? Well, let's go to... Yeah, I was going to talk about how God, Deuteronomy 12, prohibits when you erect an altar to me, make sure you do not erect an Asherah pole next to me. That's all we've been doing. So I showed you. Let's read the message to the Church of Philadelphia, Revelation 3. This, I believe, is the 144,000 coming. It's not a coincidence that this ecclesia is linked. Christ links them with the temple, being in the temple of God and going no more out, being pillars, Jachin and Boaz, two pillars in Solomon's temple. Commentaries will tell you it's linked in with the tied in with the Old Testament temple. What goes out? What's going to go out from Mount Zion when the kingdom is being set up? Torah, the instruction, the teaching, because in it is the written code of the Messiah, what he came to do the first time, and what he's going to do the second time. Through the Sabbaths, from Passover, Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, to gathering up all the fragments, as he fed the 5,000 on Passover, and they gathered up 12 baskets of the leftover fragments. To John 12, verse 32, and when the Son of Man's lifted up, I will drag all people to me. But no, if you're a typical Unitarian or monotheist and Trinitarian, you hear about Easter Sunday, the sermon. Nothing about the Passover, looking into these things in Moses, where Jesus said you had to understand or believe Moses' writings to understand his words, John 5, 45, 47. I know I'm kind of rattling on here. And to the angel or messenger of the church of Philadelphia, ecclesia, right? These things says he who is holy, he who is true, he who has the key of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it, for you have a little, it says, it basically translates very little, small, tiny, puny, little strength, have kept my word, and have not denied my name. This name in the Greek is onoma. It translates fame, reputation, character. What's his name? Oh, should we just type it up here? Just type in Joshua, huh? Definition. Yahweh is salvation. Your doctrine is Yahweh is destruction, because you're going out of one testament and bad translations. You see where Jesus talks about many be called but few chosen. He's just talking about the first fruits. You hear the term wheat, harvest. You got that from Torah. Look at my videos. I did a video on that. Meaning to save. That's his onoma name. He's going to gather up every fragment. Destroyer. Definition. This is annihilationism. This is the synagogue of Satan, a doctrine. Jesus talked about it's a doctrine. Someone, we'll do the second, someone or something that destroys. Christ's name carries salvation. Deliverer, Messiah. He's the deliverer. He's the restorer. These doctrines witness otherwise. Oh. That, my friends, is the synagogue of Satan. Let's end with this. A couple of scriptures, Matthew 5. Just as a witness, if you're still hanging with me. Oops. 17. 19. Yeah, let's see here. Why don't we do the complete Jewish Bible? I have one. You should get one. Complete Jewish Bible. Let's read it from there. Don't think that I have come to abolish the Torah. You see the word law there all the time. That is a grossly mistranslated word. Do not think that I came to abolish the instruction, the teaching that I laid up in my heart. This is his mission statement. Or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to complete. Yes, indeed, I tell you that until heaven and earth pass away, not so much as a yud or a stroke will pass from the Torah. Not until everything must happen that has happened. In the Sabbath's Pentecost, only partially fulfilled. You still have trumpets, atonement. You still have tabernacles. That's the 1,000-year reign. You still have the 8th day after tabernacles. The consummation age. The 7th day actually of tabernacles, which Christ in John 7:38 or 37:39, he stood up on the last great or greatest day of the feast. The Feast of Tabernacles, which is called Hoshana Rabbah, the great salvation. That's the last day, the 7th day of the Feast of Tabernacles. That's not the 8th day. That's when the dead will be raised physically, that were never called, that never heard the gospel. And that's when they will cry out. Save now, great salvation. Jesus said, on that day, he cried out, if any man thirst, let him come to me and drink. As he said that, they were pouring out water on the altar from the springs of Gihon, or excuse me, the pool of Siloam. No, the springs of Gihon, excuse me. I'm just starting to research this, okay? Got a lot of stuff in my mind. Living water was poured out. The libation service. The 7th day of Tabernacles was the greatest day. So you don't see this stuff. You don't hear this stuff because you listen to your sweaty Orthodox Trinitarian monotheistic ministers sweating behind the pulpit, hearing about eternal torment and hellfire, and not the Jew Jesus, Yeshua, who put the Torah in his heart and grew up in a Jewish culture, and he showed up in the temple as he was commanded to during tabernacles, observing Hoshana Rabbah, the great salvation. He stood up and cried, "If any man thirsts, let him come to me and drink. Out of his belly will flow rivers of living water." As they were pouring the water on the altar, the priests, they will be written into the book of life at that time, and on the 8th day they will be changed. They will appear before Yahweh. It's all in Torah. Boy. Okay. That's just one more scripture. Let's go to Isaiah 8. This is the 144,000 in the last days. What does he say? I'm surprised it doesn't say it here. Wrap up this document, and confine its teaching to those I have instructed. Let me just go to, let's go to the NIV. Wrong one. The NIV. I listened to it on my headphones. So the 144,000. Bind up the testimony of the warning and seal up God's instruction. Translated perfectly, or teaching, or Torah, not law. God's instruction. Among my disciples, my Torah. I will wait for Yahweh, who is hiding his face from the descendants of Jacob. That's the United States, Ephraim. Why? Why is he hiding? Because they're not searching the matter out in Torah. The prophecies of Abraham and Joseph, the descendants of Joseph, the two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, United States and Britain, they've junked it. They've completely junked the Torah, both Trinitarian and monotheist alike. They don't go there to find the Christ. It says here in verse 20, consult God's instruction, his Torah, and the testimony of warning. If anyone does not speak according to this word, they have no light of dawn. There's no eternal torment. There's no destructionism witnessed as the good things to come in Torah. Only refinement in fire outside the camp, outside the city. The destruction of the leper or sinner's garment, or actually it begins with the inner man, which I will deal with on a video concerning hellfire and what Christ taught from Torah. Just not getting it. The destruction of the filthy, actually the refinement of the inner man, putting off the old man, putting on the new man, which will be reflected in the garment. This is the whole crux of the problem with sin. It begins with the inward man and the spirit. So there you go. That's the synagogue of Satan. Those that are professing, it's the Catholic Church and its system. It's false teachings of the immortality of the soul, the false gospel that comes out of that both monotheist and Trinitarian take up alike. It's the doctrine of annihilationism. It's all the pagan holidays and everything. It's the whole system of Babylon. That's the synagogue of Satan. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.